that is a good example because a lot of the older industries, financial services being one, legal, accounting, a lot of the professional services, I guess I would say, one of their big struggles is the creation of content. I think we all face it, but I think that they face it more, and that's partially because of just the world they live in, right? They're used to being the smartest guys in the room. They want to maintain that. It's hard to get people who are, their thought leaders are all billable hours guys and girls, so getting them off of billing hours to doing something like this is really, really hard. Mm-hmm. So they are a good one. So where I would start with them is if, and they don't usually know because a lot of times their content is reactive to what's going on in the world, but if they have an overarching message for the year, that's a good thing. So we're gonna do this, we're gonna talk about this. If they're launching a new practice group, if they're moving into a new space, if they're changing the way they do business, right. And there's a reason for that. They've researched.
Marijuana is about to become legal. There's all these publicly traded companies, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
we're going to make a push.
Exactly.
Right.
So what the average law firm will do, let's call, or financial services is bad.
Financial
so it goes, but I don't know if financial services would be involved in this, but
okay.
A law firm, the average law firm will do is that legislation will come out and they will comment on it. They will comment on it for their customers because a lot of what they do with their marketing and their content is value add to their customers who or clients, I guess they call them, who don't want to talk to their lawyer about it one-on-one because you're going to charge them. Mm-hmm. They want to give them a lot of this stuff. So something will happen and they'll go out and they'll produce a webinar, a video, a white paper, a guide, whatever on it. But if they're a law firm that says, you know what, we've decided we've got this many marijuana manufacturers already, we want to corner the market the way that MNP has tried to do in the accounting space, then this would make sense to create an overarching, what's going to happen in the next 12 months, what you need to watch out for if you're a producer, if you're a this, or if you're a that, and create a piece of content that really circles the overall market.
Cannabis playbook,
right?
Something general enough.
But hopefully insightful enough if you're going to try and corner the market on it.
Yeah.
And then those pieces, highly produced pieces, can be turned into something that, because it's not like, most people are getting into that space now, but there will be people getting into it next week, next month, and 6 months from now, next year, and the year after, depending on how well or not well it does. I'm assuming it's going to do very well. And so these pieces of content can continuously, just like we've done, be embedded in and although we've added to this, these pieces of content continue being used.
Right.
When we go to financial services, the interesting part there, because we spend a lot of time talking about it on this podcast as well as out in the market, is that there is a lot of evergreen content that they produce. A lot. Whether it be practice management for advisors or investing basics for you and me, or what, there's a lot that they do produce. And so for them, depending on where they are in that cycle, this is great for that evergreen stuff. Is come in, produce it really, really well, and have a plan for how you're going to continue to reuse it. Because I often go in and speak to these people. We bump into them all the time. And we say, have you seen my podcast? Yeah, it's really great. We're thinking about doing podcasts. And we talk to this other company, and we got a video company, and we got a webinar company, and we got this. And then the same guy's doing the same thing 17 times.
Right.
I remember one day I was in a meeting with RBC, early days, and it was their chief investment officer? No, economic officer was in the room. He was going to do the presentation. The presentation was just basically his economic update. Really well attended. But this is a guy, he's the chief economist of the RBC. At the time, every time, still today, before the federal government launches a budget, they ask his opinion. They want to make sure he's not going to balk at things they're doing.
Right.
This is the guy that the week before, he was saying it over lunch, the week before was sitting at lunch with the prime minister arguing about something that he doesn't agree with, about what they're going to do with interest rates or whatnot. And he's sitting there talking about it. I'm like, so is this presentation, it's got to be pretty fresh, pretty new. He's like, Matt, all I do is give this presentation. That's all I do. I'm giving it here, and I don't know where I'm giving it tomorrow. They book me everywhere. I give this presentation nonstop, and then next corner I'll do a new one, I get the data, and I give this presentation again. I'm like, well, that's not very efficient. He's like, you'd think that my job was giving this presentation. Right. Well, that's one where you should probably do this instead of that.
Right.
So he could be in the studio or wherever it is, and he doesn't have to be in the studio. Like, he can do all kinds of stuff. Heck, do it at the CBC, and then have this waterfall of content continue to come out so that he's not giving that presentation every day. He's giving other insights and doing other things. And I'm assuming he's got a job too. I'm assuming I'm assuming his job really
Fairly
isn't giving,
speaking.
yeah, giving that presentation. I doubt that it really is. So, so those are the type of things to look out for. You know, something that you know you're going to be talking about, or trying to be talking about, or you want people talking about, or the evergreen content. And then the last thing is what we've done is every business, whether you're a financial services firm, whether you're a software company, whatever it is, your front line is being asked the same questions over and over again. And the people delivering the answers are getting good at it, but they're not as good as somebody else in the company. Right? They're not as good as that guy or girl who is the expert in that space. That evergreen content, that kind of, or that content that answers those questions is great for this type of thing.